The planet Xyloth was a paradise of vibrant colors and strange, glowing flora. Towering trees with bioluminescent leaves stretched toward the sky, their roots intertwined with rivers of liquid light. It was the kind of place that made humans feel like they'd stepped into a dream, or a really trippy sci-fi movie. Jake, a human engineer, was one of the few humans stationed on Xyloth as part of an intergalactic cultural exchange program. He wasn't exactly a diplomat, but he had a knack for fixing things, even if his methods were unconventional. Jake stood in the middle of a Xylothian lab, surrounded by alien gadgets that looked like they'd been cobbled together from seashells and stardust. He wiped sweat from his brow, his human resilience the only thing keeping him from collapsing under the planet's oppressive humidity. Across the room, Luma, a Xylothian scientist, adjusted a glowing orb that pulsed with soft, rhythmic light. Her bluish skin shimmered under the lab's artificial glow, and her large, luminous eyes flicked toward Jake with a mix of curiosity and caution. "So," Jake said, breaking the silence, "these coconuts of yours, they're like your version of batteries, right?" Luma blinked, her long eyelashes casting faint shadows on her cheeks. "They are more than that," she replied, her voice melodic but tinged with exasperation. "They are a part of us. They store energy, yes, but they also reflect our emotions. The size, the glow, it is deeply personal." Jake nodded, though he didn't fully grasp the cultural weight of her words. To him, a coconut was a coconut. He picked up one of the fruits, its surface smooth and warm to the touch. It was about the size of a grapefruit, with a faint pink glow that pulsed like a heartbeat. "Got it," he said. "So if I were to, say, accidentally drop one of these, would it be super offensive?" Luma's eyes widened, and her coconuts, nestled in a woven satchel at her side, glowed a brighter shade of pink. "Do not drop it," she said sharply. "It would be inappropriate." Jake grinned, holding up his hands in mock surrender. "Relax, I'm not gonna drop it. I'm just trying to understand how this all works. You know, human curiosity and all that." Luma sighed, her coconuts dimming slightly. "Humans are strange," she said, though there was a hint of amusement in her tone. "You ask so many questions, yet you seem to understand so little." "Hey, that's why I'm here," Jake said, leaning against the lab table. "To learn. And to help. Speaking of which, what's this stuff?" He gestured to a vial of glowing liquid on the table. Luma's expression brightened. "That is a nutrient solution. We use it to enhance the energy storage capacity of our coconuts. It is very delicate. One wrong measurement, and the results could be unpredictable." Jake picked up the vial, examining it with a scientist's curiosity. "Unpredictable, huh? Sounds like my kind of experiment." Before Luma could stop him, Jake uncorked the vial and took a sniff. The scent was sweet, almost like honey, but with a sharp, metallic undertone. "Smells like something you'd put in a fancy cocktail," he said, grinning. "Do not." Luma started, but it was too late. Jake's elbow bumped the table, and the vial tipped over, spilling its contents directly onto Luma's coconuts. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, the coconuts began to grow. And glow. And grow some more. Luma gasped, her hands flying to her mouth as her coconuts swelled to twice their original size, their glow shifting from a soft pink to a vibrant, almost blinding magenta. "What have you done?" she whispered, her voice trembling. Jake stared, wide-eyed. I think I made your coconuts bigger?" Luma's cheeks turned a deep shade of blue, and her coconuts pulsed in time with her rapid heartbeat. This is unacceptable," she stammered. "In my culture it is impressive?" Jake offered, trying to lighten the mood. Luma shot him a glare that could melt steel. "It is embarrassing," she snapped. "Do you have any idea what this means? My coconuts are bigger?" Jake said, unable to resist. Luma's coconuts glowed even brighter, and she let out a frustrated groan. "I cannot believe this. I cannot believe you." She grabbed her satchel and stormed out of the lab, leaving Jake standing there, holding the empty vial and wondering how he managed to mess up so spectacularly. As the doors slid shut behind her, Jake scratched his head and muttered, "Well, that could have gone better." Luma's village was a picturesque cluster of domed huts nestled among the glowing trees of Xyloth. The air was filled with the soft hum of alien insects and the occasional burst of laughter from villagers going about their day. But for Luma, the walk home felt like a march of shame. Her coconuts, now significantly larger and glowing a vivid magenta, drew stares and whispers from everyone she passed. "Luma!" called a voice. She turned to see her childhood friend, Zyan, jogging toward her. Zyan's coconuts, nestled in a satchel similar to Luma's, glowed a soft blue, their size modest compared to Luma's newfound assets. "What happened to you?" Zyan asked, her eyes wide with curiosity. "Your coconuts are, wow!" Luma groaned, covering her face with her hands. "It was the human," she muttered. "He spilled some kind of nutrient solution on them, and now they're like this." Zyan tilted her head, her coconuts pulsing with amusement. "Like what? Gorgeous? Radiant? Absolutely stunning? Embarrassing!" Luma snapped, though her coconuts betrayed her by glowing even brighter. "Do you know what this means? Everyone will think I'm in love?" Zyan teased, her voice dripping with mischief. "Because that's what it looks like. Big, glowing coconuts? That's the universal sign of a Xylothian with a crush." "I do not have a crush," Luma protested, though her coconuts pulsed in time with her racing heartbeat. "This is a scientific anomaly, not a romantic declaration." Zyan smirked, clearly enjoying Luma's discomfort. "Well, good luck explaining that to the elders. You know how they are about tradition." Luma groaned again, her coconuts glowing so brightly they illuminated the path ahead. "This is a disaster." Meanwhile, back in the lab, Jake was trying to figure out how to fix the mess he'd made. He'd consulted a Xylothian colleague, who explained the cultural significance of coconuts in excruciating detail. Apparently, larger coconuts were seen as a sign of emotional arousal, and Luma's sudden enhancement had turned her into the village's most talked about topic. "Great," Jake muttered to himself. "Just great. I've turned her into the alien equivalent of a walking billboard for love." Determined to make things right, Jake grabbed a fresh vial of the nutrient solution and headed for Luma's village. The walk was longer than he expected, and by the time he arrived, the suns were setting, casting the village in a warm, golden glow. The villagers stared at him as he passed, their coconuts pulsing with curiosity and suspicion. Jake found Luma sitting by a bubbling stream, her knees pulled to her chest and her coconuts glowing softly in the twilight. She looked up as he approached, her expression a mix of anger and embarrassment. "Hey," Jake said, holding up the vial. I brought this. Thought maybe we could figure out how to reverse the effects." Luma's coconuts flared brighter, and she crossed her arms over her chest. "Do you have any idea what you've done?" she demanded. "Do you know what this means in my culture?" Jake scratched the back of his neck, feeling like a kid who'd been caught with his hand in the cookie jar. "Yeah, I got the rundown. Big coconuts, big emotions, right? It's not funny." Luma snapped, though her coconuts pulsed in a way that suggested she wasn't entirely unaffected by his presence. "Everyone thinks I'm emotionally charged," Jake offered, unable to resist. Luma's coconuts glowed so brightly they lit up the surrounding area, and she let out a frustrated groan. "This is serious, Jake. You've turned me into a walking beacon." Jake held up his hands in surrender. Okay, I get it. I messed up. But I'm here to fix it, okay? Let's just figure this out together." Luma hesitated, her coconuts dimming slightly. "Fine," she said finally. "But if you make them any bigger, I'm throwing you in the stream." Jake grinned. "Deal." As they worked together to analyze the nutrient solution, the villagers began to gather, their coconuts glowing with curiosity. They whispered among themselves, their voices carrying on the evening breeze. "Is that the human?" one villager asked. The one who made Luma's coconuts grow? Another added. They look so radiant, a third said, her own coconuts pulsing with envy. Luma's cheeks turned a deep shade of blue, and she shot Jake a glare. This is all your fault. Jake shrugged, trying to hide his amusement. Hey, at least they're impressed. Luma groaned, her coconuts glowing brighter than ever. This is going to be a long night. The Xylothian village was alive with activity as preparations for the annual Coconut Festival were in full swing. Colorful banners hung between the glowing trees, and the air was filled with the scent of roasting fruit and the sound of alien music. For Luma, however, the festival was less a celebration and more a nightmare. Her enlarged coconuts had made her the center of attention, and she'd been chosen to lead the ceremonial dance, a role she'd never wanted. I can't do this, Luma muttered, pacing back and forth in her hut. Her coconuts glowed a nervous yellow, their size making it impossible to ignore her anxiety. Everyone will be staring at me. They'll think I'm showing off. Jake, who had been quietly observing from the corner, cleared his throat. Look, Luma, I know this isn't ideal, but maybe it's not all bad. You've got a chance to show everyone how amazing you are. And hey, if anyone gives you trouble, I'll be right there too. I don't know, distract them with my human charm. Luma shot him a glare, her coconuts pulsing with irritation. Your human charm is what got me into this mess in the first place. Jake held up his hands in mock surrender. Fair point. But seriously, you've got this. And if it makes you feel better, I've been working on a way to reverse the effects of the nutrient solution. We just need a little more time. Luma sighed, her coconuts dimming slightly. Time is the one thing I don't have. The festival starts in an hour, and I'm expected to lead the dance. Do you know what that means? Everyone will be watching my coconuts. Jake grinned, unable to resist. Well, they are kind of hard to miss. Luma groaned, her coconuts glowing brighter. This is not funny, Jake. Okay, Jake said, holding up his hands. No more jokes. But seriously, you've got this. And if it helps, I'll be right there with you. Moral support, remember? Luma hesitated, her coconuts pulsing softly. Fine. But if you embarrass me, I'm throwing you into the ceremonial fire. Jake chuckled. Noted. As the festival began, the villagers gathered in the central clearing, their coconuts glowing in a rainbow of colors. Luma stood at the edge of the crowd, her heart pounding and her coconuts glowing a nervous magenta. Jake stood beside her, his presence oddly comforting despite the chaos he'd caused. Ready? Jake asked, offering her a reassuring smile. Luma took a deep breath, her coconuts pulsing in time with her heartbeat. No. But let's do this anyway. As they stepped into the clearing, the villagers erupted into cheers, their coconuts glowing with excitement. Luma's dance was graceful and mesmerizing, her movements fluid despite the weight of her enlarged coconuts. Jake watched from the sidelines, his admiration growing with every step. But as the dance reached its climax, something unexpected happened. Luma's coconuts began to glow brighter than ever, their light spreading through the clearing like a wave. The villagers gasped, their own coconuts pulsing in response. For a moment, the entire village was bathed in a soft, golden glow. What's happening? Luma asked, her voice trembling. Jake stepped forward, his eyes wide with realization. The nutrient solution, it's not just making your coconuts bigger. It's enhancing their energy output. This could be huge, Luma. Like revolutionary huge. Luma stared at him, her coconuts pulsing with a mix of fear and excitement. Are you saying my coconuts are a breakthrough? Jake grinned. I'm saying your coconuts might just change everything. The villagers erupted into cheers, their coconuts glowing with excitement. Luma's dance had not only been a success, it had unveiled a discovery that could transform their society. But as the crowd celebrated, Luma couldn't help but notice the way Jake was looking at her. His admiration was clear, and for the first time, she felt a flicker of something she hadn't expected. Jake, she said softly, her coconuts glowing a soft pink. Thank you? Jake smiled, his eyes warm. Anytime, Luma. Anytime. The aftermath of the festival left the village buzzing with excitement. Luma's coconuts, now glowing with unprecedented energy, had become the talk of Xyloth. The elders, initially skeptical of Jake's presence, were now eager to hear his explanation. They gathered in the village's central hall, their coconuts glowing with a mix of curiosity and anticipation. Jake stood before them, holding a vial of the nutrient solution. "This," he said, holding it up for all to see, "is what caused Luma's coconuts to grow. But it's not just about size. The solution has unlocked a hidden potential in your coconuts, increasing their energy storage capacity tenfold." The elders murmured among themselves, their coconuts pulsing with interest. One of them, a tall Xylothian with a deep blue glow, stepped forward. "And you are certain this is safe?" he asked, his voice tinged with skepticism. Jake nodded. "Absolutely. I've run tests, and the results are consistent. Your coconuts can now store and release energy more efficiently than ever before. This could revolutionize your society, your energy systems, your technology, even your way of life." The elders exchanged glances, their coconuts glowing with cautious optimism. "And what do you ask in return for this discovery?" the tall elder asked. Jake shrugged. "Nothing. Well, maybe a thank you. And, maybe don't throw me into the ceremonial fire." The elders chuckled, their coconuts pulsing with amusement. "Very well," the tall elder said. "We will consider your proposal. But first, we must consult with Luma. After all, it is her coconuts that have shown us the way." Luma, who had been standing quietly at the back of the hall, stepped forward. Her coconuts glowed softly, their light reflecting her nervous excitement. "I believe in this discovery," she said, her voice steady. "And I believe in Jake. He may be clumsy, but his heart is in the right place." The elders nodded, their coconuts glowing with approval. "Then it is decided," the tall elder said. "We will implement this new technology, with your guidance, Luma. And we will honor the human for his contribution." As the meeting adjourned, Jake and Luma stepped outside into the cool night air. The village was alive with celebration, the glow of countless coconuts lighting up the darkness. Jake turned to Luma, a grin spreading across his face. "So," he said, "I guess this means I'm not getting thrown into the fire after all." Luma laughed, her coconuts glowing a soft pink. "Not tonight, at least." They stood in comfortable silence for a moment, the sounds of the festival filling the air. Finally, Luma spoke. "Jake," she said softly, "thank you for everything." Jake shrugged, his grin turning sheepish. "Hey, it was an accident. But I'm glad it worked out. And, for what it's worth, your coconuts look amazing." Luma's cheeks turned a deep shade of blue, and her coconuts pulsed brighter. "You're impossible," she said, though there was no anger in her voice. Jake chuckled. "Maybe. But you like me anyway, don't you?" Luma hesitated, her coconuts glowing a soft, steady pink. "Maybe," she admitted. "But don't let it go to your head." Jake grinned. Too late. As the night wore on, the celebration continued, but Jake and Luma found themselves drawn away from the crowd. They walked through the glowing trees, their conversation easy and light. For the first time, Luma felt a sense of peace. Her coconuts, once a source of embarrassment, had become a symbol of hope, and perhaps something more. "So," Jake said as they reached the edge of the village, "what happens now?" Luma smiled, her coconuts glowing softly. "Now," she said, "we change the world." Jake nodded, his expression serious for once. "Together?" Luma's coconuts pulsed brighter, and she reached out to take his hand. "Together,"